All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Athlete and Artist Show. I am the artist, Kyle Forch. And unfortunately, today we don't have an athlete co host, but we do have a very special athlete guest. He has over 1,000 penalty minutes in professional hockey. He is the broadcaster for the Arizona Coyotes. He is a co host of the biggest hockey podcast in the world, Spittin' Chiclets, and co founder of one of the best selling vodkas ever, Pink Whitney. We have Mr. Paul Biz Nasty Bissonnette. How you doing, my friend?
I see you got the No Days Wasted sponsorship behind you too.
Yeah, man. We have been chatting with them. They're like, I told them you were coming on, and they were like, "Hey, we'll get involved. Let's."
They got this new product, the hydration replenisher that I pump in my water every day just to get my sodium in me. It's been fucking awesome.
I've got
I've
that.
noticed a big difference.
I've got that right here.
It looks like Pink Whitney too. So
It
most of the time
does.
people think I'm drinking on the job with the Coyotes gig, and I'm like, no, it's not Pink Whitney. I promise.
Yeah, I mean, you brought that up right away. No days wasted. Chucky20 is a promo code.
Oh, you guys got your own
Oh
promo
yeah,
code and everything. Look
we
at
got
you
the
guys.
promo. Well, it was under Chucky's name, but he's not due anymore. So I'm gonna split the profits with my producer here.
Perfect.
So Biz, how's everything going down there in Arizona right now with COVID and stuff?
I mean, things have been good. I mean, it's, obviously with it being sunny, like winter time is unbelievable here,
Yeah.
and a big reason why I made this my retirement destination. Although I do miss Canada, I think ever since I got picked up off waivers here, I can't get adjusted to cold weather in the winter. I can go back for about a week, but then I got to come right back down to start warming up. But you know, Arizona's a bit more the wild, wild west. I think the rules are a little bit looser,
Sure.
especially a lot looser than north of the border. So things have been good, just trying to stay as healthy as possible, hiking, spending time with the girlfriend and dog, and then just working. A lot of work, buddy.
Yeah, man. You guys have been pretty busy for a while. Also, just real quick, happy belated birthday. I know it was your birthday a couple of days ago.
Yeah, buddy, I've gotten all the partying out of my system early in my days where I just hung out with my dog and chilled and relaxed on the couch. That's to the extent of the action going down on Biz's birthday these days.
Hey, that's the best way to do it, man. And we mentioned COVID real quick. How did that affect things? With Spit and Chicklets and with Pink Whitney. I know you guys kind of did a lot of appearances beforehand, to promote and to get out there and meet the fans and stuff. So I know it probably affected you on that in that sense. But did COVID increase listeners for the podcast, or did it affect the business at in any way? Or
I think what happened is we shifted our focus in some regard. I mean, we definitely dropped down to one a week at that standpoint because there just wasn't any hockey to talk about, the life in general just slowed down, so there was nothing really interesting going on to bring up as far as topics of conversation.
yeah,
We did do that the video game tournament.
yeah,
We
I
we
saw that.
Yeah, and it was fun. I mean, Grinelli plays a lot of the NHL 20 and now NHL 21. I used to play old school with the Nintendo Blades of Steel. I think Sega Genesis, there was what was it, 94, NHL 94? That was kind of the peak of it.
I think so. I was born in '94, so I think it was you're nodding your head. My producer's nodding his head, so I think you got
So
it right there.
and to be quite frank, a lot of these younger players, I think because the pace and skill level and just the approach to the game has changed. A lot of these current guys in their downtime play video games as opposed to like the old guys used to do. They used to get up their gear off, shower up, they'd meet for lunch, the whole team, and next thing you know, it was nighttime and they'd have about 10, 15 beers in them. So it was great to be able to interact and also, of course, attract that younger audience of the podcast to a different channel. At the time, we did it to Twitch, but then now we've switched over to YouTube because there's less restrictions and yada yada. But that was a cool experience, and I think what happened is it ultimately led us to realize that we were having a little bit more fun when we were only doing one podcast a week, just because it became a little bit too much of a job trying to get together twice a week, and Wit's raising a family, and it was just it's more fun joining up once a week. So we definitely adjusted. But as far as listenership with adding the podcast where you could watch to YouTube, yes, our overall downloads have gone up. And like any business, we try to adapt and continue to grow.
Awesome. Yeah, I watched you play a couple of times, and I know you. I mean, I give you a hard time on Twitter, chirping you about your your
Yeah.
shell performance, and you kind of got a little flack from it. But have you gotten any better? Have you been practicing, or have you gotten worse because you've been so busy? Or
So
what's
I
going on
told the
with that?
story. I told the story on the podcast in my last game and how I was trying to come back with having already torn my right ACL halfway through my last season. And you know, when you tear your ACL, they say the best way to approach it is to allow the swelling to go down, but also prehab it is the term they use,
Okay.
where you can like once the swelling goes down, I was still able to do lunges and step ups and whatever it may be in order to activate and continue to grow the muscles around it to
Yeah.
support the fact that your knee didn't have an ACL. Um, Soccer players play on it as well without a brace because you're not allowed to play with a brace as far as soccer is concerned. So the goal was is I was going to try to come back, finish the year knowing it was going to be my last year. Well, after I'd prehabbed it, I tried to come back in a game against San Jose. Well, would you know, I fucking tore my other ACL in that game coming back.
Okay.
So I finished my career on no ACLs. I ended up fighting in my last game, and I ended up getting surgery on the left side. And I think that I've put the skates on like once or twice since I've retired, but not in a game setting, just to jump on the ice. So I don't play anymore. I think maybe one day if I end up getting my right one repaired, because I still haven't repaired that one, maybe I would get back into it. But for now, I'm content on just working and enjoying life off the skates.
Well, I was talking about shell, Biz.
Oh,
I was talking about the video game.
okay.
That's
Well,
what I meant.
oh,
That's
sorry.
what I
Well,
meant. I was chirping you about.
because you mentioned my playing career and my lack of playing ability. So
Oh,
I assume.
I meant at Shell at NHL.
Oh,
At the
okay,
video.
okay.
Yeah, no, I wasn't chirping your actual pro
Well, because you said you saw me play.
on Twitch. I meant. Sorry,
Oh,
I might
okay.
have
Well,
cut out or something. Where I'm gonna
okay.
have.
Well, that was a confusion because I never actually played. Oh, you
Um,
must have saw me play when I was in Boston then.
I saw no, I saw you play. You were on the Twitch stream with Grinelli, and you were playing a fan or something like
Okay,
that.
so that
Yeah.
was in Boston.
Okay.
Okay, my apologies. My
No,
apologies.
it's all
Because
good.
we threw a Twitch tournament
Yeah.
presented by Devour during the quarantine. And then when
Yeah.
we ended up going over to Boston, yes, I did hop on a few times. My
Right.
apologies.
No, it's all good.
So
so
I went off the rails there already on a question.
it's all good, man. No, I was just saying that I you were getting kind of chirped about your
Oh, I
NHL
don't play
21
video
playing
games.
career. So yeah, that's what I thought.
I just
I
don't.
wasn't sure if you got
I
into
don't.
it or
I feel like I'd be wasting my time doing it. And
so
there's
Grinelli's
just
kind of the guy that focused on that for the
yeah,
podcast.
younger demographic. And I think at
Sure.
that age, I was probably still playing a little bit. I used to play Xbox. What was the Halo? Halo was big when
Okay.
I was coming up.
Yeah, Halo was a big one. Halo was a big one.
That was one of the big first person shooters. Now they got what are the other ones where you drop in and the Gulag and
Fortnite or whatever.
Fortnite? That fucking popped off
Terrible at
big
those,
time.
man. Terrible at those games.
Same.
Um, so we kind of brought up, COVID a little bit. And then we kind of talked before we started recording about, how you've settled down and stuff like that. I wanted to bring up you were kind of one of the big first athletes that, developed a following on social media. And you said in a previous interview that when you were still playing, Arizona kind of gave you didn't really have a super tight, restriction on what you could say, what you couldn't. They were pretty loose with it. How is it now with, you're still broadcasting, and when you first started the podcast before, you had the wonderful girlfriend and stuff that you have, did
Yeah.
they kind of give you any sort of restrictions on what you can and can't say, or how did they kind of censor that? Because you were pretty
No,
open about,
I yeah, I'll be quite frank. Like the early days, it was probably crazy what I was getting away with, and I think given the market that I was in is as to why I was able to do so. If I was playing in Toronto or a major market, I don't think it would have flown. And also, I think at that point in time, given I was flirting that line, and I think I think socially things were a little bit more accepting as far as what you could joke around about, and things have changed. And I've tried to adapt as that line has moved. But
Sure.
yeah, I'm grateful that I was able to do that at that time. And nowadays I think I just kind of monitor it myself, where
Okay.
I think I know where I can take it. I can't remember off the top of my head the last time I was kind of messaged, but it's really not worth it to me to go to Twitter to do it either, because anything
Sure.
I want to say or joke around about, I could just save it for the podcast platform where people who wouldn't be interested in seeing it don't
Yeah.
have to be exposed to it. So it's been that's like been the biggest blessing about the podcast itself, is like I always wanted an outlet in order to like fuck around and joke around. But Twitter became a very, very sensitive place.
Yeah.
And hey, some of the stuff I can agree with, some of the stuff I can't agree with, but it's partly, it's like not even worth having the argument to where I just direct them to the channel that I'd want them to consume whatever I'm putting out on. But
Did Arizona try to?
there's also been a lot of growing up in the process too. Like I was a fucking wild man back in my days, to where I pretty much had no, half the shit I was spouting off, I was just being a donkey.
Did Arizona kind of try to censor the podcast at the start, or because there was a lot of stories that you told, that were,
Yeah.
if for like you said, in a bigger market, they might have been like, hey, don't say that shit type of thing.
I think that there was a few conversations about it, but I think that once the popularity had grown fairly fast when I hopped on. I mean, they were already doing very well before I got there, but it kind of just took on a mind of its own.
Yeah.
And I was I was okay with sharing those crazy stories at the beginning. I mean, if you go back and listen to the old episodes, like I pretty much unloaded all the wild ones that I could tell on there. And that's probably why it gained the popularity that it had. And like, but I'm also a changed person now. I would never want to be the same person as I was 5 years ago. So some people are a little critical in the sense they're like, oh, you don't tell the crazy stories like you used to. And it's like, well, fuck, dude, how many do you think I had? You know,
You
there's
told them all.
yeah, and I'm not really recreating them anymore. I mean, Christ, I can't even fucking drink as much as I used to, let alone fucking wolf coke or do Molly or whatever it may be, right?
Sure. And you're settled down with a girlfriend now too, so
Yeah.
you be respectful, which is totally fair.
Yeah, it's I met a good one, and I think that there's been a lot of growing up probably in the last 3 years in particular. It's happened very fast, and I think that when you get to a certain age, I think the peace and quiet becomes a lot nicer. You don't want to live in the midst of this chaos where you're pissing people off all the time and kicking up dust.
For sure. And kind of one of the biggest events that cause a lot of chaos is definitely the Calgary Stampede. You've talked about in the past. It's a fun time to go out, have fun, the tents,
Unbelievable time.
and you have a deal with Budweiser, which is one of the big sponsors of Stampede. So it's kind of explain that. How did the Budweiser deal come about? And what's your best experience at Stampede? I'm from Calgary. We'd love to hear about the Stampede stories. I like to believe you haven't done Stampede unless you've stampeded with me, because I go 7 days open to close, Nashville on
Yeah.
my spot.
There's oh my goodness. So my first experience is with all my buddies who told me about it, and some of which were living in Calgary who came from Victoria and Vancouver. So our whole Vancouver Victoria crew went over there, and
Is it
you're
teammates or?
um I think there was a few teammates that I ended up seeing there, but no, these are just local buddies from Vancouver that I met when I moved there. Because I think after my second or third season with the Coyotes, myself and Boyd Gordon, uh, I was going back to Welland, Ontario. I think I'd grown a little bit out of it, and I wanted to experience new things, especially in the summertime when you have your downtime. And Boyd Gordon was going back to Saskatchewan, and we were like, "Hey, why don't we go rent a place downtown Vancouver and link up with some buddies there that we'd met, and see where it brings us." And we met so many amazing, cool people there that I live in, or I bought a couple places out in Victoria, and that's where I'll reside. So
Couple
that what's that?
couple places.
Yeah, well, yeah. There, I mean, real estate has done very well there. Fucking, I'm trying to be smart with my money. You can't be putting it all up your nose. Anyway, that whole crew, we ended up going there, and the first time I experienced it was, I mean, it was pedal to the metal.
Crazy, hey?
Um, yeah, and the people are so friendly, and it's just a great group partying. Of course, Cowboys tent was one of the major attractions, and I had a wonderful experience. And then I didn't go back until you mentioned the Budweiser sponsorship, so I kind of got to experience. It was still fast paced, but I also got to absorb some of the horse riding and what's the barrel racing? Is that what it's called?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, all in all, it's just good fun Canadian partying, and the way I would describe it to anyone who hasn't been is I think you need to go at least one time in your life, preferably with a bachelor party or a large group of friends, because sometimes you will bring friends who experience one night and they're like, okay, yeah, I can't keep putting my pedal to the metal like this for 4 nights straight. And that's how we do it. We go for 4 or 5 nights, and you consume as much as you can. You meet, well, of course, me when I was single, meeting tons of ladies there, and good Canadian girls. And yeah, I mean, there's really nothing much to explain other than you have to experience it for yourself.
Can you two-step, Biz?
I
Did you do
can't.
much
I
dancing?
went to there was another tent too, not Cowboys.
Nashville North?
I think I went to the Nashville North tent as
Yeah, that's the
well.
best tent. That's the best tent.
That's where things get very, very rowdy, because I would say that Cowboys, especially if you want to experience the right way, can get very expensive.
Yeah, the thing with Cowboys is the crowd is so hit or miss. Like, you can go there, have a great time, but there's also they attract, the younger crowd, you know, especially, like the fresh 18-year-olds who either get too drunk, they're acting tough, or sometimes they're not 18 yet and they're somehow slide their way
Sneaking
in
in,
there. Yeah.
standard
Yeah.
Canadians.
So there'll be a guy talking shit, and you don't know if you want to pop a one because you don't want to beat up a minor. And it's like,
Yeah, I never experienced the that side of it, because I was always I was old enough when I went. But I would tell you this, yeah, back home when I was going to the bars at a young age, yeah, there were some bar fights. That's another thing I
yeah,
grew out of, thank God. I had a tough experience in the minors when I was playing with Wilkes-Barre, where I got in a street fight, and I actually got sent down to the ECHL because of it. So that was a big time learning lesson for me as far as the fist fights go in public.
for sure. And you were probably up at VIP too when you're in Stampede, so you probably were able to separate yourself from the bullshit on the
I
floor.
I was weaseling wristbands off some buddies. Yes, that's for sure.
Speaking of Stampede, going out at night can really get you bucked off the horse. When I go out at night and want to feel great the next day, I use a product called DHM Detox by No Days Wasted. No Days Wasted is here to help you maximize life's moments. We all need a little support when we have a couple drinks so we can get back to feeling our best the next day. Life is about balance, and that's what DHM Detox helps with. Imagine this: a few drinks in the evening, you're having a great time, and the next morning you wake up feeling normal. DHM Detox uses research science to help boost your body's natural response to alcohol and help break down those toxins. It's built on the backbone of DHM, a wonderful herbal ingredient that has been used in Asia for centuries. The blend also includes milk thistle, prickly pear, and NAC, powerful natural antioxidants and anti-inflammatory ingredients. Forget the brain fog and gross next day feeling. Just take 2 capsules after your first couple drinks and it goes to work. If you're having a bigger night, just double up and take 2 packets. How much is your next day worth? For just a couple dollars, you can bounce back and support your liver all at once. It's a completely risk-free purchase, so if you don't love it, they'll refund you on your first box. That's a no-brainer. For the month of March, No Days Wasted is also donating 10% of all sales to small businesses. They're teaming up with their community to support restaurants and bars that have been impacted by limited capacities and forced closures. We've got you 20% off your first order and free shipping in the US. Just head over to nodayswasted.co/Chucky20 and use promo code Chucky20 at checkout. That's nodayswasted.co/Chucky20 and 20% off your first order.
So you just brought up the minors a little bit. Let's talk about juniors. What's the toughest junior player you've ever seen? It doesn't have to be necessarily when you were playing, but since then.
I probably have to go back to my North Bay days, and Brian McGrattan was always one of the big scary guys, and he was playing with Mississauga, I believe, at the time, and or he might have been traded to the Sioux. But either way, he was playing in the OHL, and he was very feared. And I wasn't fighting the way I fought in my pro career at that point. And I'll never forget. I got the puck at the point. I shot it towards the net, and he was the winger on my side, and he came out and he stuck me in the nuts. Like
Oh,
after I shot it, just kind of like, and I was like, "Hey, fuck you! Don't stick me in the nuts." And I'll never forget. He stopped because he kind of swirled around to like face the net in case there was a rebound, and then
yeah.
he heard me, stopped, and he skated towards me. Says, and he pointed his stick. He goes, "I'll stick you in the fucking face." And I proceeded to shit my diaper and skate towards the bench. And at that point, I was like, yeah, that's probably one guy I don't want to fuck around with in junior. And he was 6'4", 230. I was a young underage 16-year-old, and he probably would have caved my face in. Sure enough, later on in my career, when I was playing in the AHL towards the end, he was playing with the San Diego Gulls, and I did have the opportunity to fight him twice. uh
How'd you do?
I did okay. I survived, but that was probably the scariest moment in junior, where like I said, I didn't say a word to him. I just skated back towards the bench in shame.
So he was a big boy in junior too, hey? 6'4", 230.
He was a killer. Yeah, he was a heavyweight, and he was actually I would say he was a fairly decent player. Like he could
Yeah.
hold his own. He wasn't just a knuckle dragger in junior. And even in the American League, I will say he had unbelievable shot with the San Diego Gulls, and we'd have to look it up in Hockey DB. He might have had 7, 8, 9 or 9 goals in his final year
Oh,
as an AHL hockey player. So it just is, when you get to the NHL level, you kind of become one dimensional just based on the skill level of all the other guys around the league.
for sure. For me, when I was scouting in the AJ, we had this kid that played for us. His name was McCray Setaguchi. He's not a huge kid, but he's probably the scariest fucking kid I've ever met in my entire life. He's I think maybe 6 feet, like 170, 180. So not a huge thick kid, but when he snaps, he snaps.
The wires cross, yeah.
Yeah, there was this one time we were in preseason a few years ago, and I was in the press box just watching the game, trying to making reports on the players. And there was this kid named Tian Rask on Canmore who was just skating around, being a prick. He skated past their bench and he was like, "I'll fucking kill all you pussies," blah 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 blah. This is the first time we had a really calm coach too, who didn't freak out. This is the first time he ever turned around. He was like, "You want the green light? Fucking go for it." That's all he had to say. Next shift, Seto skates around the ice, chasing this kid around, finally gets him, pops him, drops him, fucking ground and pound. It was like when
Slap shot.
it was like when Dan Henderson knocked out Michael Bisping and just
Oh,
dove on him. And then he skates off, goes down the tunnel, comes back, starts trying to come back on the ice, starts freaking out, starts punching the glass with the upset.
oh, those are
One of our other guys had to grab him and carry him back to the back.
things have definitely changed. I don't think we see as much of that anymore.
This was 2 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, there you go.
It was nuts, man.
Yeah. I mean, maybe in the lower leagues. What's the AJ?
Junior A.
Oh, okay.
So
Cool.
yeah, so that's where like Okotoks, that's where like Makar played and those guys.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
he's a hell of a player.
Yeah, he played. Yeah, half his draft highlights were him skating through our entire team my first year scouting. I was like, this is fucking embarrassing. What did I get myself into here?
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of fighting, I've seen you guys talk about it on Spittin' Chiclets before. These celebrity boxing matches that keep popping up. What do you think of those? I know you're a hockey guy. You don't really insert yourself into that type of drama. But do you think it's good for sports, mainly boxing, or do you think it's kind of a joke?
I think that people are starting to realize they have a lot more control over like what they can sell, and I mean you look at the old formula and how you have to go through through these major boxing companies or promoters where these guys are finding it a way to do it themselves. I mean, you've seen Barstool do it with the Rough and Rowdies. You see what the Pauls are doing, and also I think it's a good way to monetize your time, and I think that people. I, fighting is, I don't want to say it's made a resurgence because I don't think it ever went away, but just given the popularity of MMA and where everything's going,
Yeah.
it seems to be like where the dollars are, and I can understand why all these kids are starting to do it and starting to do it through their own platform. So, um, yeah, I've already lived that life. I don't really know if I would ever get involved in a boxing match like that. It's hard.
You wouldn't
It's
scrap Jake
also,
Paul?
what's that?
You wouldn't scrap Jake Paul?
Well, I mean, I think it's hard to say no to anything if someone's going to present you a huge offer. Now, I think that Jake Paul would probably have bigger fish to fry than Paul Bissonnette. I mean, and more lucrative opportunities given that the size of his platform. So, yeah, I wouldn't say no to anything, but yeah, as of right now, a deal has not presented itself to which it would intrigue me to get back in a ring, or I don't even want to say get back in one, get back in a situation where I'm getting my face caved in like I did during my career.
Fair. Yeah, I definitely agree. There's definitely the the stars like Paul who can actually bring in an audience that they're gonna make millions and millions of dollars. But then you get this other shit that's like Aaron Carter versus Lamar Odom. Like, who the fuck is gonna buy that fight?
I mean, I'm curious. Yeah. So with the Jake Paul situation, like I've heard different numbers that he made throughout the fight. I don't know if he would ever publicly disclose exactly what he did make, but I would imagine that it's easily into the seven figures.
Yeah.
I also heard 700,000, and I thought to myself, there's no way that he probably went through that whole ordeal to only make 700 grand. As far as Aaron Carter and Lamar Odom, I didn't even know that was a fucking thing. I think enough people like to watch. I don't want to say downfalls, but those are two guys who are probably not as relevant as they once were. So I think there is a certain attraction to maybe those two guys going at it. I would imagine they could probably get about 50,000 pay-per-view buys.
I'd slap around Aaron Carter just because he tried to sue me a couple years ago.
Oh yeah, there you go.
That's that whole situation is like you said, these two guys aren't really relevant anymore, and they're trying to be relevant, but it's like,
I just meant overall in a sense of like, I think if you're putting yourself in that fighting situation, things probably aren't going as well as they once were. I mean, one guy was an NBA star and the other had a fairly significant music career, right? So I don't know. I wish them well. I don't know what their personal lives are like, but yeah, I don't know.
for sure. I mean, I think Lamar Odom started to get his kind of shit together, but it like even the weight class doesn't make sense. Like Lamar Odom's a big guy.
Yeah, I
Like
think I mean
ginormous and an
the names when you told me, I'm like, oh wow, yeah, that's definitely an interesting matchup.
complete opposite spectrum, right? Like Lamar
Yeah.
Odom's he was a giant successful athlete, and Aaron Carter has always been this little skinny kid.
Yeah.
It's like if I tried to fight Paul Bissonnette, I'd probably get my ass kicked. Not probably, I would
I
definitely.
mean, you never know. I usually try to respect my opponent because I've been clocked by some small guys where I was like, oh geez, what I get myself into here.
Oh man, when I used to compete in MMA, I used to go in a little bit cocky and I tried to flying kick once and did not go well for me. Had a brain injury ever since, so I stopped. But it's not an easy sport to get into, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So we're not going to see Paul Bissonnette versus Alex Cooper on Triller Boxing anytime soon, hey?
No.
Let's talk about Pink Whitney a little bit. First off, congratulations, huge congratulations on everything you guys have done with that. I've worked in bars and nightclubs for forever, and I've never seen a liquor make this type of impact, and I don't think it'll ever happen again. You see these A-list celebrities like The Rock and the Jonas Brothers and shit that are all releasing liquors, and they don't make half the impact that you guys did with Pink Whitney.
Well, I mean, the Rocks is definitely homegrown and it's on the rise. I would just attribute it to we just got very fortunate. Our fan base usually dictates as to what they want, and they're very vocal about it. And after Witt had mentioned with the collaboration with New Amsterdam what he drank with his vodka, it took on this mind of its own. Um, we were able to execute the idea. Did we ever think in a million years that it would sell 15 million bottles in the short lifespan that it has? No.
It's
And I'm still left flabbergasted. And what's fun is we're going to be able to do a lot more cool things, given with the success of that, in order to give back and interact with the hockey community, which is where it kind of began. But it's also taken on a mind of its own, to where it's a lot of people who are consuming it who have no idea what our podcast even is. So it's we're very, very grateful. One of our focuses moving forward is going to be trying to give back as much as possible to the hockey community. The latest is, I think, that we're going to sponsor a sled hockey team, which is very cool, or a tournament. So we're just kind of catching wind on that. So now the focus is, okay, we've had this amazing success. That's something that our fans have demanded and have supported. How do we now transfer it back? How do we give back? So it kind of just becomes this awesome cycle of our own little community that we've created.
Well, you guys just did a deal with an ECHL team, didn't you? You're about to be one of their big sponsors.
Yeah, so the Orlando team,
Orlando.
and Orlando Ice, is that the name of the team?
Solar Bears.
So, or Solar Bears, excuse me. Yeah, I can't even keep track. So I wasn't even given wind that we were doing that, because they have a whole team that's handling other
Sure.
situations. But yeah, they're going to sponsor one of their podcasts. And also, I think it's going to be the main vodka inside the arena when fans are there. Fans are back in the building, excuse me. Although it is in Florida, so they might even be at full capacity, given that it's the wild, wild west over there. So we're like I said, we're very grateful, and they're continuing to make moves, and it's growing, and I hope it doesn't stop.
Yeah, it's insane. I remember when you guys first released it. You first released it in the States, and people in Canada were freaking out. And when it first got released here, I think it was like November of last year or something like that, or just before November, right before my birthday. There were stores that were the one or two liquor stores in Calgary that would get it. Like the one place was selling bottles for like $50 because no one could fucking get it, and people would be buying this by the case. I've never seen
Yeah,
people buy liquor by the cases and then either try to resell them or just try
geez.
to drink them
Yeah.
for themselves. It was
So that was a little bit frustrating, because me being the Canadian member of the podcast, I was hoping that it was going to be released there at the same time. And then, of course, the fans are like, "Where is it? Where is it?" But we were, fortunate enough to get all throughout Canada within, I think, 6 months of releasing it.
yeah.
And then there became enough where they could sustain the demand. And like I said, it kind of just, I think we sold 30,000 cases one month in Ontario alone. So it's yeah,
The car
that
dealership that was giving away a bottle of Pink Whitney for people that bought a car.
yeah.
That's how in demand this liquor was. I'm pretty sure there were people robbing liquor stores for fucking Pink Whitney. Like, no, fuck the money. Give me the Pink Whitney.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Well,
at the level that it was at.
yeah, like I said, we're grateful, and our fans in Canada are, specifically our Canadian following, is very rapid. And we try to do we try to do whatever we can to get them what they want. I was hoping this summer, we're not sure if it's going to happen. I wanted to do a cross country Canadian tour, just to be able to interact more with our Canadian following, given the fact that I'm always in the United States. And
Yeah.
especially during COVID, I haven't been back since COVID happened. So I miss God's country and our loyal Canadian following.
Yeah. When I was working with Barstool, because I worked at like the regional social like media Barstool, and we did a Pink Whitney party at Knoxville's here, and every bottle was gone by the end of the night. They had cases of it, and every bottle was gone by the end of the night. I mean, granted, it was a lot of it was us drinking it too.
Where are you located at? In Calgary?
In Calgary, yeah, I'm in Calgary.
Yeah. So I would say outside of Ontario, Alberta is definitely where our biggest following is. And that I felt the love the last time I went to Stampede. I know we already touched on it, but that's when I ended up going with Budweiser. And that's when I really realized for the first time, maybe the impact that we had as far as Canada is concerned, because, never are we at events that big, not even close. And you're just walking around the grounds. Everyone's like, "Oh, we love Chiclets." And it's just like, "Oh man, this the energy and the love that I felt, I conveyed it to the guys. I'm like, we need at one point to get back up to Calgary Stampede, maybe do a live show. So yeah, tell everybody that you're associated with, that you saw there, that we're extremely grateful for you guys' support.
For sure, man. Like, how I want to know kind of how the breakdown of Pink Whitney goes, because obviously, there's you guys at Spittin Chiclets, they created the drink, and then you've got Barstool and then New Amsterdam and then the distributor. So I mean, you don't have to say obviously how much you guys are each making, but kind of how does the breakdown flow in terms of like ownership, I guess, in the drink? Or
We just, we split it up in a fair way between ourselves and Barstool, because I mean the idea was created on our platform, of course, as well with New Amsterdam and Gallo. And the the great news about working with Gallo was the fact that they were able to figure out how to distribute this as quickly as they did. I mean, if we try to go do this on our own, there's no way we could have expanded it to the size in that short a period of time. And although we were a little bit disappointed how long it took to get to Canada, if we were trying to do it ourselves, it might have taken years to be able to figure out, at least to the size of which it's gotten. And as far as the United States is concerned, it's not even close. I mean, Gallo is a big hitter. So we found out a structure that works for everybody. And like I said, I'm just grateful that I've it's successful, and I've also found something that I could attach myself post playing career that's been able to give me a little bit of freedom.
for sure, and it's not your guys' fault at all that it took a little bit longer to get out here. I mean, Canada is super strict when it comes to liquor.
It is.
All the liquor, every province is different. Like AGLC is a bitch to deal with sometimes. Ontario's even worse. I think he's a little bit easier, but
something also that was a little bit frustrating was, there's people in Canada are seeing people purchase it for, 10, 12, maybe $15 in the States. And I know the exchange rate, I think it's like 27, 28 cents on the dollar. But, our Canadian following have to spend, $30 to purchase a bottle, especially at the LCBO. But, the fact that they're willing to do so and spend their hard-earned money on it is exactly why I said I'm so grateful.
Yeah, liquor is expensive in Canada. I mean, I try not to think about it, but definitely when I go to the States, I'm like, wow, I kind of wish I lived out here. This is a lot cheaper to drink.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Let's get into hockey a little bit before you go. I know you don't have much time left, but the Flames just got a new old head coach with Sutter. Do you think they've won 2 games since he's taken over the ship, I guess you can say? I'm a big Flames fan. We were definitely going down a road that I was really, really depressed to see them go down. Do you think this is going to be a respark for the rest of the season, or do you think it's going to be, just a couple weeks and then we go back into the dumps, or do you think this is going to be a big change? Or
no, I mean, I really like the way that they were built. I like that the off-season acquisitions that they'd made. I'm a big Brad Treliving fan. And yeah, I believed in the group. It was surprising to see the way that they were going, but I think that they pulled the trigger at the right time. And one of the philosophies is, and I've been reading online a little bit, is just not only the speed and the pace that they're playing at compared to maybe where it was, but also their ability to support the puck and how they kind of want to direct the game.
sure.
And I truly believe that the big physical teams that can wear other teams down are the ones that will have success, especially going deeper and deeper into playoffs. And as I mentioned, I think that team's built for success in that regard. I just think it needed to take a coach that is a little bit more stern. And although it's no secret, sometimes those types of coaches have short shelf lives.
Yep.
But I was there to witness it on the back end of what he did in LA. We played LA the first time around when they won their first cup in the conference finals, and they were an absolute juggernaut. Mind you, they might have had a little bit better personnel at that time with the Kopitar and
Sure.
Jonathan Quick was playing out of his fucking mind too.
Yeah.
But just to see how they were able to play in such good structure and wear teams down, I think that he will be able to get Calgary to that place. But ultimately we all know that it is going to take a little bit of luck to win the ultimate prize. So I think that this is a very positive thing. Their change in their in the way that they're playing the last few games is no surprise to me, and I think that Daryl was a very good answer in order to solve some problems.
Yeah, I've been giving them a hard time all year just because, as a fan, you get that extra aggression and you get pissed off when you don't see the team doing well. And one of the biggest guys that I was giving it to the most was Lucic. But I honestly think that Lucic has been one of the biggest part of the team this entire year. He's one of the only guys before the coaching switch that was, showing the heart and the soul out in the ice.
I feel that he's still extremely relevant as far as the role he brings. I think the problem is sometimes people equate salary to what the player should be bringing, where it's like, well, he doesn't really dictate as to what his contract was when he signed it with Edmonton. So taking that aside, I think that he's still a very, very relevant and feared player. And I think that when he's playing the way he has with Calgary, that he's extremely effective. So I'm happy for him because I know that his time in Edmonton, it must have been hard dealing with that type of criticism day in, day out based on what he was being paid.
Well, and up until the other night, he scored more goals than Monahan did. Before Monahan,
yeah,
the other night,
he's been playing strong. He's every time I'm looking at the box scores, he's finding a way to make himself stand out, and I couldn't be happier for the guy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Another thing that kind of just happened recently, there was a coach out in I believe it was the WSHL. I'm not sure if you heard about this, but parents were complaining to the league about this coach having inappropriate relationships with players to the point where players would have to make excuses to not go to practice. Have you heard?
No, I never heard about this. What happened?
So I've got it up here. Basically, what team was this? This was out in.
That's the problem. Is like there's so much news. Like we're trying to siphon through for the podcast. I've never even caught wind of this story.
I'll send you the link so you guys can, if you guys want to take a deeper look into it. But it's out in Edson, this tiny town, pretty close to Edmonton, hey. And he would basically be controlling, some of the older players. Even the guys in their 20s were afraid to go to practice. They were living with their billet families. And this one player, he was always getting inappropriate texts from the coaches, and the coach would basically want him to spend every waking minute every day with him, to the point where this player had to pretend he was sick to not go to a game or go to.
Oh, Jesus.
It's insane. And now I believe he left that league and was out in where did it go? This just popped up again. Sorry, I wasn't prepared to get back into this here. I'll send you the link for it after, but he went to another league and was basically promoted, and now he's been suspended from that league, but there still hasn't been any sort of prosecution or anything from this league. But it's insane that it's almost like the Swift Current situation all over again, back with sorry, Sheldon Kennedy, the player, back with Sheldon Kennedy. And I went to that screening. That's actually where I met Brian Burke, but it's almost like that situation all over again. So it's crazy that this type of shit is still happening in the sport.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if what you're telling me is the case, I mean, it's completely inappropriate. And yeah, I haven't read anything up on it. So my apologies for not knowing about what's going on.
That's totally. I just saw it pop back up again, and I wanted to ask you about it to see if you heard about it. I don't think it's made national news yet, but it's just insane to me that coaches will try to pull this type of thing and exploit players. And
oh gee, it's terrible. That's awful. That's very sad, and like I said, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I'll send you that link if you want to look into it a little bit more. If not, that's totally cool. I think that's all I have for you. I wanted to bring up our producer real quick because he's got a jersey that you might recognize from way back in the day here. He's got one of the old school.
Oh yeah, the Kachina. Look at that.
This is from their debut season.
Their first season.
Oh wow, yeah, I could tell by the collar part. That's awesome, buddy. Well, who's on the back? Donor?
No, it's blank. I got it off like our version of Craigslist. It's like the original starter jersey.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, look, it's even got like a little bit of a bubbly crest, right? So it's kind of like a little thicker and more authentic. That's awesome, buddy. Well, it looks great. I'm so happy that the Coyotes were able to bring it back because I love rocking mine. I got mine right in the closet here.
So that just again, right before you go, talk a little bit about that reverse retro, because I said this when it came out. It kind of looked like you designed that jersey when you were on mushrooms on Chiclets one day, but it's kind of been growing on me a little bit too.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think that they did an incredible job. Now, at one point that they did wear those, but you know, I love the whole reverse retro because then they implement like a little bit of a new twist. Sure. The old one was green. I actually like the purple better. I've talked to some older players. They like the green better, but I just think overall the league, especially this year with the COVID situation and less fan interaction, it helped, you know, get people at least excited about something else. So the league has been doing an incredible job. Now they got the deal with ESPN, and I think they're looking to even expand it through Fox and Disney. And I'm really happy the league is growing to a place where it's going.
For sure. And hopefully we'll be able to get fans back in the building soon here. I know definitely out here, people are definitely missing going to the Dome and getting some Dome foams in. The Flames released a statement saying that we were hoping to get some fans in by April, but you know, who knows with our government, what's going to happen with that. And who's going to pay $800 for a ticket and $25 for a Dome beer. So, I mean, it's going to be
exactly
open for sure. But
yeah,
Biz, I know you got to go. So I just want to say I really appreciate you coming on, taking the time to come on. And again, congratulations on, you know, Pink Whitney and Spittin Chiclets and everything you guys are doing. Is there anything you don't want to promote, anything you guys coming up that you haven't done so much?
I just thank you for your time, and you know, tell your producer love his jersey, and to all the people that listen to your podcast, if you guys listen to Spittin Chiclets, we appreciate all your support, and maybe at some point down the road we'll see you guys all at Stampede.
For sure, man. I think we're going to be releasing this episode as the first episode, so you're going to be the big debut opener. So we appreciate you coming on, man, and good luck with the rest of what you're doing today with the press. And thank you again.
Awesome, buddy. Well, thank you guys again for your time, and thank you to your following as well.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Okay, see you, pal.
See you, buddy.